All right, today what we're working on, I have a person's car. They wanted me to, they've entrusted me to change the oil before a trip and go over the engine and make sure everything looks good, top off all the fluids, okay? And the oil's done, and this is a Subaru Forester, okay? And these actually have a pretty nice, setup as far as changing the filter. It's right up top, and as you can see, what I like to do is put on there what mileage I changed it, which is the one up top, and then what I do is put change at, and I add the amount of miles that the oil's recommended, which in this case is 7,500 miles. This helps them every time they check the oil. And I would recommend anytime you have a vehicle, I mean, I always check my oil anyway, but anytime you have a vehicle that's over 100,000 miles, you're going to want to check your oil at least once a week. And here's the fill spout here. It's actually a pretty nice setup on these Subarus that you don't have to climb under the vehicle to get the filter. But the other thing is, always make sure you clean off everything and wipe down underneath on the oil pan. And get some either brake cleaner or something to clean off the bolt that goes into the pan. And also, there's a crush washer on them. Everybody just seems to reuse them, but you can get a new crush washer. You just go to the Subaru dealer and get you a crush washer. They're only a couple dollars, or Toyota, wherever you're at, whatever you're servicing. And the other thing is we're gonna have to pull this cover off, and I'm gonna change the serpentine belt out. Okay, and this thing is the original belt. Okay, it's the original belt. I don't know if you can see. It's really starting to crack. It's getting these little micro cracks, and it's really dry. It's really dried out. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull that off, and we're going to put a brand new one in. This is an actual Subaru serpentine belt. There's a number for a 2016 Subaru Forester. And we're going to actually change that out, and you can see how much even the rubber is a little thicker because it doesn't have 135,000 miles on it. Now these people are planning on going out to Missouri, which is from upstate New York, is quite a little jaunt. But at the end of the day, that's what we're looking at. And the other thing I'd like to say is, especially in Joe Biden's industry right now, with his world, where the economy is, you know, basically like Dr. Seuss, this is what you want to do. See this filter? Look how plugged that is with grass and everything. Not only do you want to change the filter out so that it can breathe better, but Subaru has these other filters. They're like a HEPA filter going in. But look at all that debris down there. I don't know if you can see that. Look at all that debris. You want to make sure you clean the air box out. Don't just put a new filter in, because that'll just suck that other crap in there. So what I've done here is I pulled this assembly off, as you can see it. I pulled the assembly off, and it's basically this little top cover piece here. You go ahead and pull that off. There's a couple little clips. The other thing I'm going to do is fix for them is they've got this filler neck. Every time you pull the filler neck off in order to fill the windshield washer fluid, look what we got happening here. This little, I mean, plastic's good, but if you're strong-handed, you see what happens? These little plastic clips don't last forever. So I'm going to change that out. I'm going to get them a new clip. I've got some in stock here. I'll go ahead and throw one in for them. No charge, just to make sure they don't have any problems in the future, but that's what I'm doing. I'm checking the hoses. I'm going over everything, making sure there's nothing obvious that's ripped or cracked. I maintain this vehicle on a regular basis, so as you can see, I've fluid filmed everything, all underneath, all up on the shock towers. Now in upstate New York, that's where you have problems, is these start to rust on these seams, and if your shock tower, that's integral to the entire frame structure of the front. If that rots out, that shock tower, this vehicle is no good. I don't care how good it runs. So in order to extend your vehicle and let it go further than what basically the conditions will normally give you in an area that you're in, especially in upstate New York, where they just coat the roads with copious amounts of salt, you have to protect your investment. Now, this car's a 2016, so it's like going in almost 9 years, okay? And as you see, there's no rust. Yes, there's a film of it's almost like baby oil, but that's the fluid film, okay, the wool wax. Look at all the lines in the back. Normally, an 8-year-old vehicle, they would be bright orange and covered with rust. All the bolts. If I need to get in here and change anything out, look at these here on these brake lines. Underneath is the same way. I coat everything with that fluid film before the winter comes, once a year. And there you go. Now, if I need to get that off, a little brake cleaning, I can get that off. But at the end of the day, if you don't fluid film your vehicles in this state, you've got a problem, Houston. And you will have a problem that will say, you know what, let's just get a new vehicle. And at the end of the day, yes, you can do that if you've got the money and the funds. But wouldn't it be funner to take your money and go do something else with it? You know, like buy you a four-wheeler or buy you a garden tractor. What else? Now look at this. I just noticed this. There's a bolt missing here. Now, this car has not been 100% maintained by me. They wound up taking it into the Subaru dealer to have the transmission valve body replaced at $105,000. And I found a bunch of things like this that were loose or missing. And to me, here's another issue right here. There's no reason why I would have pulled that off. So I'm going to get a 10mm bolt, and we're going to put that back in. But that was a Subaru dealership up there at Carbone's. And me personally, I wouldn't recommend it. Now, what happened was she had the dealership in Romano, I believe out in Syracuse, do the valve body. And it needed doing, okay? They treated her good. It was, I want to say, around $1,800 for everything. Now, it wasn't a year later she went in for some a recall or something, and out there at Carbone, you know what they tried selling her? Oh, well, we've got to flush the entire transmission. It's due, blah, blah, blah. And they flushed it and charged her $300 and something. We got to drain your fluid. Not even 5,000 miles on that brand new valve body, and they changed the oil out because she's an elderly person that she didn't know that. And had I been with her, I was actually traveling, that wouldn't have happened. But that just goes to show you. Now, if here's the situation. If you take this vehicle and you do something to it, you get in an accident or a wreck, that's all recorded. In their system, it's not like you went to another car shop, like a regular garage somewhere else that didn't know. They punch this VIN number and they can tell you everything that's been done to this car. So that tells me that Carbone Subaru out in New Hartford, New York, gave her a round deal instead of a square deal, if you know what I mean. And I would never recommend them. I would never recommend them. So here's the situation. They knew she just had a valve body done. I called the guy too. I was a little upset. I'm like, hey, look, why would you sell? Oh, well, we didn't know. You knew. You knew. And I don't even know if you've actually did it, to be honest with you. But if you're that crooked, how do I know you even actually did it? But you charged her for it. And here's the situation. That's why she don't trust even the dealerships, you know. Now, I could have done the valve body and I could have did all that. But like I told her, I can't give her a warranty, you know, like the dealership will. So, and I'd have to reset the computer and all that. So that would take, you'd have to take it into the dealer to have that done, or find someone that's got a machine. So for the same amount of money, I mean, she could have just had, I mean, the valve body was basically, I would have had to buy it from Subaru. But that being said, there are some crooked people out there. So even with 5,000 miles on that oil, that should have been flagged. Like, hey, wait a minute, she just had a valve body done. And which you can't change the valve body without changing the oil. I mean, let's be honest. But anyway, neither here nor there. We're going to go ahead and make sure everything's good on this. The brakes are good. The tires are good. We're going to go ahead and change this belt out. And the situation is there. We didn't go with a cheap belt. We went with, or let me back up. We didn't go with a inferior belt. We went with the same type of belt that came with it on OEM, which she's got 135,611 miles. So hopefully she'll get another 100,000 before we got to change this again. But what we don't want to do, okay, what we don't want to do is get in a situation where she's half her way to Missouri and there's some backyard shade tree mechanic got her in there saying, well, we've got to change the belt because it broke on the thruway, and then you get a tow bill. Okay, then you get a big bill from the garage. When we can prevent that right here and right now, doing a pre-travel inspection and maintenance. So I hope this helps somebody, and I hope you're maintaining your vehicles or finding someone that you can reliably trust to do it. And that's the situation. I actually record everything on a sheet for her, and I put it down that way. If there's any question later on, I can say, go back to the sheet. Like if I'm not around and she's somewhere and says, look, they want to do this, that, or the other, I can tell them, hey, wait a minute, we've already done this. We've changed that at this mileage. And it's what it basically does is mitigates them trying to take advantage of you and give you a round deal instead of a square deal, if you know what I mean.